Noah was at this house party. Everything was fun and fantastic until it wasn't. This house party turned into a nightmare. There was two truck drivers in traffic. They spotted something offside the road that looked a little bit odd. It looked so odd that they got out their car to check out what was sat on the side of the road. As they got closer, they discovered it was a body. It was Noah's body.
Well, today, investigators released a statement saying they are still looking into what happened, but right now, Presgrove's death is not a murder investigation.
Understand, as expected, the further we get into this case, you will see that things don't make sense. It's almost like a cover-up. And maybe, just maybe, be careful who you go to parties with, because you never know.
That's vivacious Anna on the right, having fun at another boisterous house party with her high school friends.
Waited outside that house for hours, my heart racing like it would explode. I pulled the trigger because I couldn't control my emotions. Anna visits me in my dreams and talks to me all the time. I cannot explain how much I loved her and how much I still and forever will.
The first sign, as expected, his body was found on the side of the road. Mean it was dumped there. Before we get into this house party that turned into a nightmare, first, y'all come first, y'all important, at least to me, snacks. Y'all see how long this video is. Look, I'm improving. This is the video to have your snacks, food, dinner, dessert with your family, friends, even your pets. But y'all, turn off the lights. Get under your blankets and shout out Koreax Kitchen. Y'all already know what I'm about to say. GGYS. Go get your snacks.
I just started off in your world.
The picture that you're currently seeing is the area, the road where Noah was found. He was completely nude, no clothes, except he had on two shoes. Two separate different types of shoes.
And the shoes that Noah had on, only one of those shoes belonged to Noah, and the other shoe belonged to a friend.
What investigators found out was his shoes was very dirty. But I would say that's not really odd. Let's just be honest. My white friends. You know, I love y'all. But y'all all have y'all shoes dirty. Black people, we tend to treat our shoes like gold. I don't know why. Obviously, it's not all vice versa. But my white friends does the same thing. They treat their shoes like they don't really care about it, which is fine if you don't. But I don't think that it's a red flag just yet. To spare the investigators, why am I sparing investigators? Like, they're pros. But to spare them, they said the Adidas shoe was more dirtier than the Hey Dude shoe. Well, they're two completely different shoes, so one is probably older than the other as expected. He had writing on his body.
I mean, what is it?
There are a lot of parts of this case that just don't make sense. At the party, there's Snapchats that everybody saw when he was under the influence. They were like drawing on him with Sharpie.
And he had his clumps of hair scattered many different places. The first thing that they decided to do was maybe this death is an accident. You know, it was a fun party. You know how young people are at these parties, they get drunk. Maybe he drunk way too much and wandered off without nobody noticing. And he went on this busy road and he got hit by a car. Maybe. The reason why they also thought it was an accident, because it was not a lot of red next to him. It was just a little.
This mark is where the blood is. If we scroll up from here, we've got another mark. There's some other piece of evidence here, some other piece of evidence here. You can see there's a memorial here at the cross. So that car is parked just beyond where his body was. So his body was found somewhere here.
I don't know if I'm crazy for this, but when a case happens, the first thing that I'm thinking is murder. And if we can't find any evidence of murder after days and weeks and months go by, then I'm gonna assume it's an accident. I don't know, I'm backwards. That's probably a bad thing, I don't know.
It could be possible it's a cover-up and this was all staged to look like a hit and run. If you've got a pathologist coming forward and telling you, this does not look like a hit and run to me, I'm not seeing broken arms, I'm not seeing broken legs, no broken ribs, there's something to question.
There were broken ribs.
Why would the authorities allegedly cover this thing up?
In a small town, every cop has a friend.
Yep.
There are three different versions to every single story in a small town true crime case. There is what the cops think happened, what the press said happened, and then what the locals think happened.
And the fourth thing is the truth.
Police came out and said, you know what, it was a hit and run, close the case, dismiss. Everything's done. But we have to wait till the autopsy to be finished. And when it was finished, at least 9 months later, this is what we discovered. First, Noah had 10 broken ribs. He had broken upper and lower teeth. He had skin on his scalp that was torn. His fingertips was torn to the bone. He had a split tongue, had a lot of fractured vertebrae, a broken neck, a skull fracture. His brain was leaking. His lungs was punctured. He had internal and he had road rash on his upper back. Left shoulder, left arm, the left of his torso, and both of his butt cheeks. Oh, he was up. Did I literally just name out? Like, what?
We now know what caused Noah's death, but we don't know how he died.
Now this brings us back to the hit and run. As the autopsy came out, a lot of people started to realize that this was not a hit and run. A lot of the damage was from his upper body and not his lower body. And if this was a hit and run, because of the damage that happened to his body, it was due to multiple blunt forces to his body.
It's due to multiple blunt force injuries.
And if he was to get hit, with all of that happened to him, you would not be able to identify who he was. Not to mention, there was not one single item of car piece or truck piece found in the area where his body was found. Investigators even came out and it had a word to say about this whole situation.
He has 2 different shoes on. He had some writing on his body, probably from the party. Broken teeth. I mean, there's a lot of damage here. But there's no car debris. So does that rule out the possibility that this could have been an accident where he was hit and a vehicle took off, a hit and run, something like that?
Yeah, the injuries that we're looking at really, to me, rule out hit and run for a couple of reasons. One, when we look at the evidence, we're looking at the fact that he is wearing the 2 mismatched shoes, which the first thing everybody's going to be questioning is, why is he wearing 2 mismatched shoes? It looks like he had exchanged shoes with a friend at the party. As an investigator, the first thing that piques my interest, why the mismatched shoes? And if he's wearing mismatched shoes, there's another set of mismatched shoes somewhere. But, through a little bit of research, it looked like this was a kind of a fun act with a friend. But one of those shoes is a slip-on style speed-laced shoe called a Hey Dude shoe, right? That would come off very easily. So that's our first clue. The second thing is that those shoes don't appear, according to the autopsy report, to have any damage on them. So that rules out dragging, right? We would expect to see some abrasions or some wear and tear on the shoe if that had occurred. So we would expect that he would have lost the shoe, or we would see some damage on the shoe. Then when we look at the injuries that he'd incurred, if we see a hit and run, if he'd been walking on the side of the road and he would have been struck by a vehicle, we would expect to see some fractured femurs, right? Legs, pelvis that were fractured. And what we lack here with his injuries, although they're extensive, is we don't have leg fractures, we don't have broken ankles, we don't have fractured pelvis. All of his injuries really appear to be torso, head, neck. They're all pretty much waist up. Now, we do see some abrasions, we see some minor injuries waist down, but really everything is concentrated from the waist up. And when we lack those, injuries or those, damages on the shoes, that takes this in a very interesting direction.
And I don't know if some of you noticed this, but a lot of you probably didn't even notice it. When something is announced as an accident, it's usually the family to always come out and say, no, it was not. It was a murder, or it was a kidnapping, or that person had something to do with my daughter or my son.
Tell me more about that, seeing it for what it is. I know that you believe foul play was involved here.
The situation obviously is not a hit and run, so there had to have been either an accident or maybe some sort of other sinister situation played out and is now getting covered up.
It wasn't no accident, He'd been just beat in the head so many times that it just, and it couldn't have been by a car. These kids, they've been hanging out here for the last 4 or 5 years, with that boy. And it's just, hard to believe that you could have friends like that and they all just stabbing you in the back. I've talked to a few myself, only the closest ones that I feel like I could, but not really getting nothing out of them. I mean, one of them I've gotten a couple stories, 2 different stories out of his mouth, and another one I've gotten 3 different stories out of his mouth. So, which story is true,
Quick 30 seconds, and I got the chills because I'm about to talk about this because it's crazy. I talked about these 2 sisters because on this channel, it's been times, at least over 100 times, where a family came out and said, no, it was not an accident. Trust me. And the trust was not there.
She tried to escape, and just the thought that she knew she was gonna die breaks my heart.
These 2 sisters, well, this one was found unalive, completely nude on a rope from a balcony. Investigators said they don't even know how she was able to do this by herself. It almost seemed impossible.
And the rope, exactly how it was found at the crime scene. According to the police reports, the bed moved 7 inches.
A hard time seeing Rebecca doing that to herself.
Of course, at the time she was dating someone, people said that he had something to do with it. But because this looked like a self-delete, and it had no evidence on this guy, they said, you know what? It's an accident. Even though they themselves don't even know how she was able to do it by herself. Mind you, she was completely nude, no clothes. Like, why she had on no clothes? That don't even make sense. Back to the case though. So apparently there's 2 stories on how he got to the party. The first is one of his best friends named Jack picked him up and dropped him off at the party. The second story was a friend dropped him off at a truck stop and he got food at this truck stop. He was waiting on another friend named Avery to pick him up and bring him to the party. And she dropped him off at the party. And this party was actually at her place. Now what you seeing is basically they're having fun, having a good time, smiling, laughing, enjoying themselves. You can even see the girls writing on his body. This is crazy to me because this party reminds me of how I party. You can see us having fun, having a great time, even our friends writing on each other's body. Go, come on. Let's do it. Why you got a pink out of all the colors? This pink is gay. We do the same exact stuff. No shirt, drinks in hand, all out having fun. Because that's how young parties is. If you partied before. At the parties I go to, fights happen. We all close friends. We don't really like strangers coming to our parties. And they look like they all know each other, which is a great thing. Noah ends up fighting somebody. His best friend. Or close friend. Jack. Because of a girl. There's always some girl involved, huh? Long story short, some slaps and some arguments was involved, and then until Noah then got into another fight / argument. He got into a fight with a guy named Mikey. Mikey confronted him and said, give me back my phone. I know you have my phone. Noah was like, whoa, relax. I don't have your phone. Then Mikey hooked this jaw like that. Noah decides to bite down on his finger really hard, fucking up his finger. A little argument happened back and forth, and then it was over with that situation. Because Mikey's phone was found, it was under a couch cushion. You should have checked there in the first place. A lot of stuff is under them couch cushions that you probably don't even know is under there decades later. Noah decides to play that slapping trend on TikTok. If you don't know about it, it's fine. Just stay under the rock because it's actually a silly, goofy trend. When you slap each other, well, Noah was spotted on Snapchat playing this game with this guy. This guy ends up slapping Noah and running off.
Come on. Come on, Shady.
He's wasted.
And in this video, you can see a guy holding a weapon. When people noticed this, they was like, okay, so you have drunk people, you have people arguing, you have people fighting, you have people wilding out, and there's weapons involved. And when I say weapons, so it's like, what is going on? Now remember, in the beginning of this video, when I said he was found with no clothes, he had these dirty mismatched shoes. Well, after this slapping game and after the guy was found in the video with the weapon, after this moment, they went inside of an ATV and they started riding. They got really dirty and they even wrecked. But it wasn't that bad because a nurse who was actually at the party, or a nurse who was in nursing school who was at the party, said he was not hurt that bad at all. But he was really drunk, so girls had to even put him in a tub so he can take a shower. When he got out the shower, he was running around the house completely nude, no clothes. They was even chasing him so they can put clothes back on him. They ended up putting white shorts on him, and Noah said, I want to sleep like this. I want to sleep in Avery's bed. It was like, no, you can't sleep in Avery's bed. You have to sleep on the floor. To remind you, this is Avery's house. But the friends, the girls, was like, no, you cannot sleep with Avery. This made Noah mad. He left the house while still being drunk, and he wanted to go for a walk, maybe clear his mind because he's so mad. So he's looking for his other Adidas shoe because he has one Adidas shoe on his foot, but he can't find it. So as he's looking around for it, he's like, you know what, forget this. This shoe right here, I'm gonna just put this on my feet. I just need something on my feet to walk. And he was walking in the direction of the same highway that was about a mile away, half a mile away from this home where he was found. Hours later. Mind you, he was found hours later after this party, because I never mentioned when he got found.
What about the family's report that police were looking at possible suspects? Do the police believe that Noah was a victim of homicide, death at the hands of another?
To be clear, apparently everybody didn't know that Noah was taking a walk. I don't even know why. If you know that your friend, like whoever knew that he was going to take a walk while drunk, we have a rule. If you drive, like when we bring our friends to parties, if you drive here, we take your keys. You literally cannot get your keys back until the next day, no matter how bad you want to leave. It's like a rule. Walking off drunk? You think we would let that happen? Never. Y'all seen how I talked about our friend that walked off accidentally? Well, not accidentally. She walked off purposely drunk while we was at this party. We searched the whole block and got in the car, started searching. We took that very seriously. But one of these girls at the party Snapchat, well, Noah's missing because nobody could find Noah. Noah was gone. Now, I don't know if you noticed it, but something strange happened. This is the strange part. Remember in the beginning of the video, he was found nude, no clothes. When he left, he indeed had on shorts, those white shorts. Well, those was found next to him neatly. People was like, you know what? When he got hit, the shorts just flew off of him, and that's how. But the shorts look untouched. No scratches, no scrapes, no torn, no tears. Literally nothing to the shorts. And remember when I said most of his damage came from the upper body, not the lower body. So if he got hit that hard where his shorts came off, that's a lot of damage. And there was no pelvic damage, like none. This is the part when people believe that this party is strange. Because when investigators was about to start talking to everyone at the party, well, every single picture and video was wiped. Except for a few that, you seeing on this video or have seen on this video already. And all of their phones of everyone who was at the party, everything was wiped. A girl named Carter said, I don't know who Noah is. I've never even met him. When it was a lie, she eventually confessed and said, you know what, I do know who he is. They all had separate stories, just making this case very strange on their part, making them look completely weird because Carter deleted everything. Investigators said even her boyfriend's Jack phone number, like she just wiped her phone completely. Why? Jack said, I went to bed early. I wanted to go to sleep so I can go fishing the next morning. The friend said Jack never even mentioned fishing. We didn't know. Well, there was this other guy who wanted to share his side of story, Caden. He said, while I was asleep, 3 guys woke me up and they said, Noah, he's dead. It was at the time of 5:15. Mind you, Jack also put on social media, and I guess this is deleted now because I can't find it, but it's confirmed, that he said he found Noah's body at 5:15. And then he texted his dad around 5:50 that he overslept and that he's on his way home. Which would be odd and which would be crazy. I'm like, y'all sure Jack said this? When I seen this online, I'm like, y'all sure he said this? Because if he found the body, why wouldn't he not? Why would he not call the police? And he just said, you know what? I'll leave that there and just go on about my day. And Caden had a lot to say. Listen to it.
So Caden said that when Jack and these 3 other boys woke him up saying this, he immediately looked around for his Hey Dude shoes, but he could only find one. He, along with the other boys, then drove in his red Cherokee truck to where Noah's body was. He said that the truck drivers who discovered Noah's body were already there. He also claimed that Noah was wearing black shorts, that Jack took the shorts off and then folded a pair of white shorts and placed them on the road. Now, Caden is the only person who has ever said that Noah was wearing black shorts. Also, the truck drivers who initially found Noah said that they never saw that group of boys at the scene.
So supposedly what happened was they took that ATV that they had earlier that they was driving to look for Noah, and they found him. Then they turned back around, went back to the house to alert the others about what they seen and what they found. And this all means that they found Noah before the truck drivers did. And because they found him before the truck drivers did, they found him before the police even got involved. And then, of course, more strange things happened. Noah had 2 phones. First, the phone pings where his body was found. Then it pings a little time after that back to the place where the party was at. And then it pings back to where Noah's body was found. So it goes from Noah to the place to back. It's getting like I have to go back. I have the goosebumps. Some people was like, you know, maybe when the guys was looking for Noah in that ATV, because Noah was driving that ATV, he left one of his phones in the ATV, and that's why it was pinging like how it was pinging. So when the boys got in the ATV to look for Noah, that's the reason why it was pinging like that. And this is when people, it gets more strange. It just keep getting more strange. So then after, everyone who stayed at the house, which was literally everyone who stayed at the house, I believe, a deep clean happened in this house. When you walk in, it smells nothing like bleach. Now, this is what's told. Also, around this time, the home was in search because remember, it was a hit and run, case closed. So the home was not getting searched at all. But a girl came out who's one of the friends of the group. She wasn't at the party that night, but when she got to the house, she said, it wasn't like that. Meaning, it wasn't a deep clean. It didn't smell like a lot of bleach. Where are y'all getting this from? It wasn't like that. It was a bunch of us sitting around and crying. And I think people were just trying to stay busy. By people, I meant my parents, because we didn't know what to do. Not to hide anything, but to help our kids. Didn't know how to help them. Now, y'all remember that girl who posted on Snapchat? Well, Noah is missing. When I first seen this, I didn't think, oh, she had something to do with the disappearance. Apparently, a lot of people did. Apparently, it was like she knew that this is Noah's final moments. And she went on the internet and she was just explaining how she didn't really know what was happening to Noah. She didn't know what was going on. She didn't took it as a real life threat that, oh, I'm not going to see Noah again. She was just like, you know what? I didn't know Noah was gone. So I put, well, Noah's missing, which I thought was completely fine. But the internet was like, no, she was in on it. At least a lot of people did. But listen to this real quick. This is what she posted and had to say.
I just want to make something clear. I posted this picture not knowing that the worst was going to happen, not knowing that Noah would never come back. It was normal for Noah to wander off. Nobody thought that he wouldn't be back. So don't even think for a second just because I posted that means that I know what happened to him, because I'm just as clueless as everyone else. I'm sick of it. Noah was my friend and I loved him very much. It hurts that people could even think that any of us could have done anything to hurt him. We all loved Noah. Someone is really out there thinking that they got away with murder because you all are blaming us for something we didn't do. But I thought that that last sentence was telling, because is that alluding to her thinking that he was in fact murdered? Someone is really out there thinking that they got away with murder because you all are blaming us for something we didn't do.
And so this is when all the theories happen. People believe that, you know, because Noah was fighting with so many people that night, not so many, 2 people, that there was hate behind what was going on and murder happened. Before y'all say, well, then how did they murder? What will people say? Well, people would say that he was badly beaten, he was jumped. Then he was dragged, whether it was from the ATV or a car. And it actually placed Noah in his position next to the road to make it look like a hit and run. Now, Noah on text even said this. Bro, everyone that saw Noah at the viewing, including me, saw his face beat up bad. Bro, I know what a beat up face looked like. Definitely not just me saying that. Everyone that saw him said that. Looks like he got beat up by 5 dudes. And this is between another conversation on Snapchat from someone who was at the party. And then someone who was not at the party screenshotted this convo with the girl who was at the party. The girl who was at the party, her name is Stephanie, and she says, he walked off to clear his head and never came back. Everything else about the story will be released to the news tomorrow. I'm not supposed to say anything else. The girl who wasn't at the party, she says, so he didn't take off in the ATV with someone else? Question mark? No. Earlier that night he was, and he flipped it. But then after that, he was just hanging out at the house, like he turned it on its side, but they flipped it back on its wheels. Okay, and I guess the story about him having beef with someone is true, since he walked away and he's mad? Question mark? No, we don't know why he got mad. No one had beef. Mind you, a little argument between what Noah had going on at the party, that don't mean there was beef between Noah and Jack. But the case is still, it's like a hit and run. Nobody is arrested and in jail because of this, by the way. So it's like, you can't blame anybody that I've mentioned on this case at all. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's really not going to do anything until, you know, more evidence come out, if possible. What do you think the truth is? Do you think the friends have something to do with setting up him in a way to make it look like an accident? Do you think it was an accident? We have the phone wiping. We have the shorts incident. We have the upper body being more damaged than the lower body, and apparently his shorts flew off. The shorts was completely fine. We have the phone pings going back and forward. And before I end this video, my final question is, if he would have just never walked away mad, I wonder how this situation would have played out.
Jack Newton, that best friend who is at the very center of this conversation, is the one who actually placed these crosses here on the ground. The house where the party was actually is less than a mile away that way. So really the story goes, as they are trying to piece it all together, is that at some point Noah actually just walked down this road at some point and his body was found not far from here. Let's begin with Jack's account though, because Jack has a very different opinion about what happened than what his family members told me. And at the same time, he also shared new details about what it was like to have so much suspicion surrounding him and what it was like to pass a polygraph test. Take a listen.
I ran over here, asked him if Noah was okay, and the semi-truck driver had his hands on Noah like this. And so I just I can just tell, that he was not okay. He was laying on his side, and he just had his eyes closed, And he had a cut on his forehead. Like, it wasn't just like terrible, it was just a cut on his forehead. The top of his hair was scraped off his head, and there was blood on his ears. 100% in my heart think that he was hit. I think he got hit on the top of his head by a semi. And that shoe that was on good just stayed on. I don't know. I can't explain any of it,
Is there any part of you that believes that he might have been beaten to death?
No, he was not beaten to death.
Why not?
Because just the injuries, you just could tell he's not. I said, okay, I'll take the polygraph test. I took the polygraph test, and it was nerve-wracking, of course. I had these two things on my fingers. I had a butt pad and then a feet thing, and these things around my chest. And I didn't even get to look at the guy. I was looking straight forward, and he was talking to me, asking me questions.
There's a lot of online chatter, and I think that's the reason why they're asking for you to take a polygraph test about you and your father. Tell me about what that experience has been like for you to have to handle that type of discussion happening all around you.
I think the reason that I got brought into it is because, going through high school, you did not hear Jack's name without Noah and Noah without Jack. We were just always together. He lived with us for a while, and we were just always at each other's houses. I think when everybody heard something happened to Noah, they just said, "What about Jack?" And just, I don't know. I don't know where all the crazy talk's coming from. Just sucks.
Do you feel good to kind of be past that a little bit with the polygraph test? Do you believe that you're past that or no?
People saying stuff. People are saying like it's easy to pass a polygraph and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know. You can't really control what people say about it. You just know what you know. And I've put my personal number on Facebook and said, if you want to talk about it, I'll talk about it.
So what has these last 7 months been like for you?
It's always been the hardest time of my life. And on top of other people saying everything, just been the hardest time of my life.
And so if you could tell there from the very beginning of that interview, Jack was one of the very first people on the scene. He tells me that he was leaving to go fishing with his dad when he drove up the road, noticed all the activity, and then saw Noah's body right here.
I love y'all. Stay safe and bye.